Call this meeting to order. This is a legally constituted meeting of the Town of Chilliwack Planning Board. Legal notice of this meeting has been posted in the Gates Chilliwack News and on the bulletin board in the front vestibule of the Town Hall. If you could, please silence your pagers and cell phones and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the event of an emergency, please use the exit in the front and the rear of the room. We will proceed with the agenda in the order it was published unless otherwise stated. When called, please proceed to the podium, state your name, and if you are representing an application or an applicant, indicate the applicant's name. Review the details of the application. Planning board members and side table participants will address questions and concerns to the applicant or their representative. For the public hearing portion of the meeting, upon completion of the comments from the board and the side table, anyone wishing to comment on the application will be heard. If you wish to speak, please wait to be recognized by the chairperson. Stand and state your name and address for the record. Please speak so that all can hear your comments and address all comments and questions to the chairperson. I will now introduce the board members and the side table participants. To my left is Joe Defendis, Matt Emmons, Al Hellaby, I'm Mike Nyhan, Glenn Hyde, David Cross, and Paul Blozier. Planning Board Counsel is Matthew Piston. Our Building Department Manager is Paul Wanzenried, and our Tenant Engineer is Michael Hanscom. Our Recording Secretary tonight is Sandra Hewitt.
I believe that application number 3 we request to be last.
Okay. Okay. All right, the application of St. Luke Tabernacle Community Church, Church Radiant Church of the Nazarene, 525 Paul Road, Rochester, New York, 14624 owner, for preliminary site plan approval of a special use permit to allow a church in a residential zoning at property located at 525 Paul Road in an R115 district.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, members of the board. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm an attorney. I actually represent the person who intends to purchase the real property on Paul Road. I'm here tonight with, and we'll make a few comments for the applicant, the church, St. Luke Tabernacle Community Church. There's a board member from the church here, and the pastor of the church is here, and the buyer of the property is here. As I said, this is this real property is subject to a real estate contract which has really two contingencies left in it. One is approval of the Attorney General of the state of New York, which the seller, I believe, has satisfied at this point, and obtaining this special use permit that we're before the board with tonight. So we just wanted to run through a few things about the property. What we know about the historic use of the property is that it was a party house, it was a church. Most recently, it had a very light church use, and that the intended use is a more traditional church use with weekly worship, with office use, with holiday celebration, and with congregation gatherings. In connection with our application, we received a letter from the town's engineer. Our interpretation of that letter is that there weren't any objections to the application before you tonight, but that the town engineer wished that we would maybe stripe the parking at the property. And I know that the intended purchaser is happy to comply with that. We also received correspondence from the Monroe County Planning. That correspondence directed us to contact the Department of Health. Actually, I think that correspondence told us that Department of Health wanted us to contact the Water Authority. Water Authority told us that they think a backflow preventer needs to be installed at the property. The purchaser is happy to comply with that by having an engineer go out, take a look at it, and do whatever is code required to install that, should it be necessary. We received feedback that that all signs must be out of the roadway right-of-way, and that Environmental Services from Monroe County had no comment. We also have confirmed with the County of Monroe Department of Transportation that they do not think they have any jurisdiction over this. And we confirmed with the state DOT the same, that they don't think they have any jurisdiction over this particular request. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions. As I said, there's people from the church here, should the chairperson or the board have any questions.
Sure.
No questions.
I guess just a couple of things. Is there presently a meeting place that they are at now? The church?
The current, yes. Pastor, do you want to come on up?
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Linda Hickman Evans. I pastor St. Luke Tabernacle. Yes, we currently are meeting since actually the onset of COVID. We are still having worship service on electronic media at this time.
You're presently not meeting as a group anywhere?
Not physically, no.
I know with churches and stuff, you get choirs and band music and things like that, and I think that's great. But there's some churches around the neighborhood that think the level is always way up here, and it starts getting a lot of the neighbors upset. I just want to make you aware of it. I mean, I don't think it's a problem as long as it's done in moderation, kind of thing.
All right.
I think that's all we got right now.
What will the hours of worship be? What
Our
normal
worship-
hours?
Our worship service is at 10 o'clock a.m. It typically is done by 11:15. The exception to that is if we're doing communion, it could go a little bit longer, but typically not longer than hour 45.
Okay. Any other services provided, like a daycare center, or like if you do have a choir practices or youth groups, anybody else that meets regularly?
We do not have a daycare or anything of that sort. We do have a choir rehearsal. We do have monthly meetings such as the deacon board, the trustees, and things of that sort.
Okay. Thank you. Glenn?
No questions.
I have nothing further.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Anything from the side table? No? This time I'll open the public hearing. Any comments relative to this application? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of the application. Have a second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. Any other?
We have one additional
Discussion.
question. I heard rumors that the kitchen in that building had been totally removed. Is that a true statement?
I don't think I know exactly what's going on with the kitchen, but I don't think there is a plan to use it unless some additional work is done to it, which I think we've talked with the town about having to get it checked
Just so I
out.
understand you, though, the way you answered, it's physically still in there then.
I don't know.
I'm just curious, that's all.
Parts of it are there?
There may be elements of it there, but it's not an
Not
operational kitchen at this point
All
in
right,
time.
that's all I got.
Any other discussion or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker. Based on the evidence and information presented at this meeting, determine the application be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impacts. Do I have a second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. As far as conditions for this application, I have the applicant shall comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Any building permits should not be issued prior to the applicant complying with all conditions. The application is subject to all required permits, inspections, code compliance regulations. The applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits from the town fire marshal, and any signage change shall comply with the town code, including obtaining sign permits. Any others? Okay. With those conditions, the application of St. Luke Tabernacle Community Church, Church Radiant Church of the Nazarene, 525 Paul Road, Rochester, New York, 14624 owner, for a preliminary site plan approval of a special use permit to allow a church in a residential zoning at property located at 525 Paul Road, R115 district. Does this require a final?
Did you give a time limit or not?
Does this require a final? Okay. Okay. That application with those conditions, do I have a second?
Yes.
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 I also vote yes, this is approved.
Thank you to the board.
Welcome. Thank you. Next application, the application of Rock City Pickleball, Ted Miller, 28 Elverston Way, West Henrietta, New York, 14586, Genesee Valley Regional Market Authority, 1861 Scottsville Road, Rochester, New York, 14623 owner, for a preliminary site plan approval of a special use permit to allow a pickleball facility located at 1861 Scottsville Road in an LI district.
Good evening, everybody. This is my business partner, Dan Johnson. As stated, the application is for a special use permit for recreational facility in a light industrial district. Everybody, I should have the application in front of them. Nothing else I have to say other than what's there, or answer any questions that came up since it was submitted. Ted Miller. Good for you.
I don't have any questions.
I couldn't quite tell from your site plan, is this going into one of the existing buildings or one of the new ones?
It is. It's tough to tell because the aerial photographs show that the building hasn't been completed yet, but there are 8 completed buildings on that in that facility right now, and we're in building 800.
There was some concern about the parking situation as well, as far as the number of cars. I guess there's additional parking still to be developed.
There is immediately across from the building, there's a planned additional 27 parking spaces. Also, I'm not entirely sure where the number came from. They referenced an aerial photo, but I can't find anything online that shows the exact number. I come up
Google
just in.
or something, one of those that they use quite a bit.
Yeah, I come up with a number of 29 for the building. If you count, there's a spot right in front of an overhead door that would be our part of our facility that we're not going to use, and that would add an additional 2 spaces. So all of a sudden there we'll start getting into a little bit closer, even division of what was recommended in that letter.
I know this is a growing sport. Is there, in the back of your minds, possibilities of tournaments or other things where the next thing you know, all of a sudden you got 100 people?
That's a great question. Right? Yeah, that's absolutely a great question, and it's something that we don't have, that we're not ruling out, but initially we're strict recreation, utilization of the courts for the people on the courts, and not set up for spectators or anything like that. Should we ever get to that point, I assume that there's probably a permitting process for things like that, that we could come in front of the board for. Also, we have a very good relationship with our landlord, the Genesee Valley Regional Market, and we would make accommodations with him, Brendan Tidings, before we ever did anything that would bring additional people into the facility.
I assume is this thing set up like a bowling league where you get people come in once a week and
So it can be,
scores and all that stuff, or?
yeah, it can be similar to that. Right now, it's more of like a first come, first serve reservation system
Right.
that we're planning to implement to begin with.
Or if somebody was to make an appointment and said, hey, I got a couple of friends who want to come down and play pickleball. What do they do, just bring their credit card with them?
Yeah, or do it online.
Or
Yeah, there's a
email.
whole system, as we've delved into it, in the back of our heads, we thought we'd develop something. There's already something exists out there called Court Reserve, we just tap into that, and we set the times, and it does all the back end
Sure
work.
you did your homework. I mean, there must be money in it because you're fighting people
Shh, don't
in
tell
the town
anybody.
of Chilhowee. I mean, the town of Chilhowee is running pickleball.
Yep. Yeah, and indoor is going to be huge in our estimation, because the bad weather, most of the year here.
All right, that's all I got right now.
Normal hours of operation right now?
We plan on 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Saturday, with Sundays TBD.
Okay.
No questions.
Big fan of the sport. I've got a lob, so can you hit a lob?
Well, we've got 24-foot ceilings, so you got
That was my question. This should be fine. Yeah, I have nothing further.
Side table. This time I'll open a public hearing. Any comments and questions from the audience? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of this application.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Any further discussion? It's pretty straightforward, existing building, just changing the use inside. Okay. So then for conditions, before we do that, though, I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker, based on information and evidence received at this meeting. Determine the applicant to be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Do I have a second?
Yes.
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 So vote yes. Now, as far as conditions, the applicant shall comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Building permits should not be issued prior to applicant complying with all conditions. Application is subject to all required permits, inspections, code compliance regulations. The applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits from the town fire marshal, and any signage change shall comply with town code, including obtaining a sign permit. With those conditions, the application of Rock City Pickleball, Ted Miller, 28 Elverstone Way, West Henrietta, New York, 14586, Genesee Valley Regional Market Authority, 1861 Scottsville Road, Rochester, New York, 14623 owner, for a preliminary site plan approval of a special use permit to allow a pickleball facility located at 1861 Scottsville Road in an LI district.
Yes.
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 I also vote yes, this is approved.
Thank you very much.
Nice night.
Mr. Chairman, I believe application number 3 has arrived. If you'd like to continue with the agenda as printed.
Sure, if they're ready to move forward, we can do that. Right then. The application of Talc Development, P.O. Box 52, Spencerport, New York, 14559, owner for a recommendation to rezone from RA to RA with incentive zoning a property located at 296 Fisher Road in an RA district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Sharaba with Land Tech, representing Talc Development. And I'd just like to thank the chairman that was willing to adjust the schedule this evening because I had another meeting prior. The board may remember this application. We were here back in January with a very similar layout, exactly this exact same layout, because what we're asking for is a referral to the town board for incentive zoning. At that time, we had made arrangements to put the town kennel in this facility, and after public comment and other things that transpired within the town, we decided to pull that from the project. But the project remains essentially the same. We're proposing 3 flex space buildings on this property. It's 5 acres in size. We have all public utilities at the site, so we have public water, sanitary sewer, and gas and electric. It's right next to the RG&E substation, so there's a long road that travels along our south property line, and then there's a substation behind our property. So changing the zoning from this rural residential to the incentive zoning to allow this, we think is a really logical spot. We hope that we can come back with more detailed plans in the future to the planning board if the town board rezones this project. But essentially what this is creating ability for flex space units for businesses such as landscapers and framers, other entities that work within the community that need a shop or a place to store their goods. They would use this, come in, start, grab materials, and then go out for a day's work. These projects have been successful in Webster, Avon, Ogden, and we're hoping that this will be a good use of the property. So with that, I can answer any questions that you have.
It's really just about
recommendation. It's
Correct,
commenting on the plan.
correct. Unless there's something specific you don't see that you'd like them to add when they come back, if they...
No, I guess I just,
Okay.
I mean, I understand the incentive zoning and the idea behind it. I think just some of the comments here about there's probably some, significant variances, potentially.
Well, then, yes, we should address those
I think
because,
that's probably the biggest concern.
yes, and if...
Can we really fit on here without getting
Right.
too carried away?
So if those zoning requests are part of the incentive zoning, then yes, it is going to be part of our recommendation or not recommendation to the town board, even though we're not reviewing the site plan approval.
Right.
If they do approve it, then they will not need to go in front of the zoning board for variance. So
Right.
we will review that when we, or should be reviewing that now, if we make a recommendation or not recommend this.
Okay, so I'll just hold my comments for now.
Sorry, you will hold your comments? Oh, okay, all right.
Well, other than front yard parking, setbacks and stuff?
Yeah, right, so the setbacks, the front yard parking, that would, if this were to go forward to the town board and they were to approve it, then they would not need to go in front of zoning board of appeals.
Where else did you say you had these constructed?
Well, the Talc Development doesn't own any other than the one that's approved in Gates, but it's similar philosophy that's been on Webster, on 590 Salt Road. Avon has several buildings on Tech Drive that we've developed, and I'm sure there's other places in the county where this is in place.
Out of curiosity, what type of construction are these buildings made of?
They've been, two kinds, been more like a pole barn, metal siding with metal interior walls. Another one has been made out of metal, but it's basically a slab on grade. Each unit is 12 to 1,500 square feet with a bathroom, a slop sink, and really, they kind of set it up the way that they want to for their needs.
So you're saying that there's a toilet room in each one of these?
Yes, there is. So each suite, I guess, would work independently.
Are you required to have firewall separation between them?
I believe it's, we'll work with the building department on that, but there is firewall rated. I believe it's just essentially metal studs and drywall, but it's not block wall.
Sprinklers?
Not on these, but we'll meet the code if has to be in Chila.
You planning any outdoor storage or any space for outdoor storage?
There is. We show parking along in the center. We're trying to focus all the activity into the middle of the project so we don't disturb the community from outside the project. But there'll also be areas where there are trailers. There's usually Jersey barriers with mulch storage if it's a landscape company. But yes, there will be outdoor storage.
Where would it be because you have all the green space other than in
Yeah,
front of the
this-
buildings? So would it be in front of each of the tenants' space?
So right now, it's the kind of, I was going to say, the outdoor storage, if there was going to be like bulk storage area of materials, would be towards the pond in the northeast corner.
Okay.
But again, all the parking, we'll see cars, there will be trailers there at night. The first building is set back over 150 feet from Fisher Road. We plan on landscaping that will be gated. So I really don't think you're going to have a lot of visual impact from what's going on within the facility.
Okay. I suppose a lot of the other things we'll get into at the preliminary site plan approval, like landscaping, hours of operation, backup annoyances.
Yeah, we're hoping to come back here and be very detailed with that.
Go through that then.
Nothing. Only, I can only mention site plan stuff, so I'll just reserve my,
Yeah, same here. Side table, any comments? No. With that, I'll open this to a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of this application. A second.
Yes.
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 I also vote yes. There's no seeker on this. The town board will do seeker. Any other discussion or comments? This is just to recommend or not recommend to the town board to rezone this with the change in the incentive, I think, is the only thing that's the big difference from the previous time with no count. Any other Questions, comments? Seeing none. Then the application,
Is there a question in regards to the wetland delineation? Something sticks in the back of my...
I can answer that. There was a wetland delineation done, and a jurisdictional determination was completed and approved by the Army Corps and DEC. Well, I believe I submitted that back in January, but we can resubmit when we make site plan application.
All right. I knew it was talked about, but I couldn't remember where it was left.
Yep.
All right. That's all. Thank you.
anything else? I'm sorry, Matt, I didn't come back to you. Did you have anything else, or all site plan stuff? All right. The application of Tauk Development, P.O. Box 52, Spencerport, New York, 14559, owner for a recommendation to rezone from an RA to an RA with incentive zoning a property located at 296 Fisher Road in an RA district. So this is for recommend, not recommend. Joe?
Yes.
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 I also recommend, so we'll send our findings to the town board.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Application of Rhett Turner, 1891 Scottsville Road, Rochester, New York, 14623, owner, for preliminary site plan approval to erect a construction storage yard, property located at 269 Ballantyne Road in an incentive FPO district.
Hello and good evening. For the record, my name is Ed Martin. I'm an engineer with DDS. Tonight, also in attendance is Rhett Turner, the applicant. The board will recall we appeared before you last year seeking your recommendation to the town board to get incentive rezoning, which we have since acquired. During that process, this board gave us very pointed feedback about things to consider as we prepare the site plan, and the plans we submitted to you do reflect those concerns, namely screening from Ballantyne Road, and more on the technical side, but the town staff asked us to avoid prime soils as your town has mapped, and we have avoided those primarily. And you'll note that the southeast corner excludes prime soils. It also takes more advantage of the existing tree line to buffer the views from Ballantyne Road. We've augmented that buffering with berms and plantings along the north edge of the storage yard. We're utilizing an existing curb cut. The only service that's required is electric, which one of the questions from the town engineer is how will that be provided to the site. The current site does have electric. There's a dilapidated barn that's being removed as part of this process. That service will be rerouted over to this to provide the security lighting that we've previously discussed. This board also asked us to provide details on the materials that will be stored here. And I couldn't begin to give you the names of these, but I have several photos I'd like to share with the board, and you're welcome to keep these. And I'll invite Rhett forward if you have a question about them to name them. But what you'll note in these pictures is that they're large. They're designed to be used in these kind of conditions, wet, muddy, and they're heavy enough to where the average person wouldn't be able to steal these if they wanted to, because there was concern about theft out here. So what we think we've given you is a plan that is like the perfect use for this property. It's encumbered by floodplain. There are surrounding wetlands that we're avoiding. And we're not filling the floodplain. So if we did any kind of development that was compliant with your code, it would require we be at least 2 feet above that, which would require filling it and potentially cause impact to the neighbors. So again, I think we have a perfect use of this, and if you don't mind, I'll share these with the board.
Thanks. All the same.
We have received staff comments. I'm confident that we can satisfy every one of them. I had a brief conversation with your Director of Public Works today. And again, I'm confident that we can satisfy the concerns raised. There was a question about letters of jurisdiction and floodplain and things of that nature. We've addressed all that, so I would ask that you consider granting approval, or if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Joe?
No questions at this time.
Nothing right now.
Nothing?
Nothing. I think my only concern last time was that the west side of the property, some of the, I don't know, there's like a little building there that's going to go away. That's all going to be cleaned up if you're going to do this.
Correct.
Perfect.
It is, and we have the notes on the plan requiring that.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Paul, anything from the side table? No? You have anything for this application before we go to the public hearing?
In talking with the Commissioner of Public Works and the town engineer, we'd like to see the wetland delineated. Okay?
Happy to do it. Is that something that you can consider approval conditioned on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Just make sure that it's delineated and the application is into the Army Corps prior to the construction.
Understood.
Okay?
This time I'll open the public hearing. Any comments and questions from the audience? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of this application.
Second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I also vote yes. Any additional comment or discussion? None, I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker, and based on evidence and information presented at this meeting, determine the application to be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I also vote yes. As far as conditions, the applicant shall supply a landscape plan drawn by hang on one second. Did this go to the Conservation Board, Paul? Do you know? Or do we have a landscape plan in the?
It did, but I have not seen comments from them.
Okay. All right.
I would just put it in there as a condition,
All right.
to follow any approval or recommendation from the Conservation Board.
All right. The applicant shall comply or supply a landscape plan drawn by a licensed architect, a landscape architect, along with the required checklist to the Conservation Board for review and recommendation. Approval is subject to final approval by the town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works. Town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works shall be given copies of any correspondence with other approving agencies. Applicant shall comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Applicant shall provide the town of Charlie the wetlands delineation prior to the start of construction. Building permits shall not be issued prior to the applicant comply with all conditions. Application is subject to all required permits, inspections, and code compliance regulations. The applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits from the town fire marshal, and any signage change shall comply with the town code, including obtaining sign permits. That cover it, Paul?
Sounds about right.
All right. Those conditions, the application of Rhett Turner, 1891 Scottsville Road, Rochester, New York, 14623 owner, for a preliminary site plan approval with final. To erect a construction storage yard at property located at 269 Ballantyne Road in incentive FPO district.
Second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I also vote yes. It's approved.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Application of application of expert skiers only, Peter Feltner, 191 South Union Street, Spencerport, New York, 14559, owner, for preliminary site subdivision of 2 lots into 1 lot, property located at 55 and 57 King Road in an LI district. And also application of expert skiers only, Peter Feltner, 191 South Union Street, Spencerport, New York, 14559, owner, for preliminary site plan approval of a self-storage facility of 6 buildings totaling 30,600 square feet, and an additional 30,000 square foot outdoor storage yard expansion of property located 55 and 57 King Road in an LI district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Cole Papasergi with Marathon Engineering. With me today is my colleague Matt Tomlinson, also with Marathon Engineering, Peter Feltner, and his father Jeff Feltner. We're here today to request conditional site plan and subdivision approval, conditional for the expansion of the self-storage expansion, conditional on the approval of some variances that will be needed for at the Zoning Board of Appeals for the, namely front storage lot and fence. It has been identified that those would be needed, and that was a result of some of the jostling around from combination of the two parcels. So the project location is located at 55 and 75 Kings Road. 55 Kings Road is 8 acres in size. 57 Kings Road is 6 acres in size. The applicant owns both parcels and the 2 parcels to the west, which is up on the page. It is zoned limited industrial. The existing facility, which comprises of 6 buildings, one of the buildings has an office inside of it and some surface storage out in the rear, was constructed in 2007. We are proposing to combine the 2 lots, add 6 new buildings, and relocate and expand the surface storage. That includes new perimeter chain link fence around the facility, additional site lighting. The existing office does not have any sanitary or water connection, and it will remain like that. And there will be no increase in parking demand to the project. The existing 3 spots used for employee and new renters will remain. Stormwater will be controlled using a stormwater management pond and bioretention. There are 4 existing drainage points along at the property, mainly at the 4 corners of the property. We are capturing and attenuating most of the stormwater flows and reducing the overall flow rate off the site, as well as meeting all town and DEC stormwater requirements. We have received the town comment letter and have issued a response letter earlier today. All of those comments were mostly technical in nature, and we don't have any issue addressing all of those in a future plan set. So again, I requesting conditional approval, site plan and subdivision approval. And before I open it up or turn it over to you guys, I'd like to offer my colleague and applicant a chance if I missed anything.
Commenting on both at the same time?
Yes, we'll comment on both and vote on them separately.
Okay. Yeah, no questions on the subdivision. I think he's answered the questions. You said you did respond. There was a letter that came through late in the day.
Yes, earlier today.
Yeah, okay. And you said there's no water back there now?
No, there's no water service to the existing building, no.
It's staying that way, you said?
It's going to stay that way.
The office doesn't have running water in it?
Correct.
Board Peter Feldman, can I address? I can answer that question for you. We do everything remotely. On that, we do not have any staff on site. It is only temporary meeting people occasionally or checking on it. Everything is done over the phone and remote signatures and everything like that. So there's no one at the office. It is more just a common meeting place. If need be, if someone has an issue or if they're dropping off payment, we have a drop box. And other than that, though, there is no one staying there. Why we've never had to have water or hook up from that manner. And don't foresee it needing that way anymore. Also, it's just expanding.
So it's not a sales office?
It's not a sales office, no.
Okay. I'm good, thanks.
I'm good.
What are your current hours of operation at the facility?
Our current hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. It is all gated and locked out. We do have a couple clients that can get an hour in or in earlier or later, but that's, so 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. is the hours that we have operation for.
That'll remain the same?
Yes, that will remain the same.
What's the current square footage of the buildings you have?
They're the exact same size, actually. So there's 6 of them at the same size of the 5,100 square feet per building. So 30,000, we're just doubling the spaces, exactly.
Is there, I know there's no water service to the building, is there water service in the form of hydrants back there?
There is hydrants that I believe are hooked up to the front of it, but to the back of the property, there is not any fire hydrants in the back of the property. There's one past it on the service road that was put in by the previous developer before we purchased the land.
So it's not out at King Road, it's back on the property
Correct,
as you
yes.
enter?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Mike, would that need to, hang on. Mike, can that be something that we can just look at to see the size of that, to see if it's, we're doubling the size of the storage back there? If whatever water main is in would be sufficient enough for firefighting purposes? Not now, but before this, before your final approval? Sure. Okay, thank you. The only questions that I have.
No questions? I've got nothing further.
Side table? Okay. This time I'll open the public hearing. Any comments in the audience? Yes, sir.
Could we see that?
Sir, could you just provide your name, please, and address? Could you provide your name and address?
Tony Caminelli, 51 King Road.
Thank you. Did you want them to move that over so you could see it? Is that what you asked? Sure, you could do that.
Oh, that'd be great.
While we're looking at the vegetable on
Oh, Jeff Feltner.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, just, could you address that to me, your comments? Could you just address your comments to me?
Yes.
Yeah. You got a comment?
I have trouble hearing, that's why I'm,
Okay.
the stormwater management pond is not in place now, is it?
Is there, no,
it's not.
that, we have a new stormwater management proposal that our engineer is reviewing to be sure that all the water is sufficiently stored on the property and doesn't go off the property into anyone else's.
This part of the property here is not going to be used?
This right here.
I'm not sure what they're referring to. Can you
point to-
just, yeah, show me what they're
He
referring
was,
to.
they were referring to this section of the property up here and this section of the property down here. Because of the setbacks, we are leaving that alone. That's the plan. We're not planning to expand on that part of the property.
Hi, it's Tracy
Zelma, East Street King Road. I'm new to this, bear with me.
Okay.
This right here, is that the woods prior to that? Are you going to keep some of that? Or is
Yes.
it going to be just, I look out my backyard and I'm going to see?
No, the plan is to keep the woods
Okay.
there as he has drawn, and I think as they want more, just protect you from that.
I believe you're going to be adding landscaping. Our plan has landscaping on it, is that correct? Between the,
So those row of trees,
yes.
those would be a double row of evergreen trees to purposely screen the neighbors.
Okay.
This section right next to our house and the driveway to the storage is currently all woods. Is that staying that way?
It will be cleared out obviously a little bit for the pond and drainage, but there is a plan to still have woods in that area.
Yeah, if I can just clarify, if you look at the aerial without the green on it, there are some areas where the tree lines push back a little bit, and where we're proposing that double row is a little thinner, and the clearing area kind of encroaches a little bit. Basically, everything in green is the clearing limit for what we're proposing for the grading plan that's been submitted to the board. So that's the limit, what we've colored in green of what we're proposing to take down. So I just want to make sure.
So I think the biggest question that they're getting at there is, what is the screening going to look like between the two pieces of property that are directly in front of the new development?
Yeah, so in front of the new development out to King Road, all that's just going to remain exactly the way it is today. Anywhere where we're getting close to the edge of the tree line, we're supplementing with a double row of
And that'll be for both the properties along King Road, correct? That are in front of, the houses that are in front of?
the property at 51 King Road, you can see has been cleared quite a bit off the property. We're staying about 75 feet away from the property line in there, somewhere in that neighborhood, where we're not.
Okay.
So we're really only supplementing the buffering to 53, because that's in the proximity of the development.
Got it, okay. Thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay. Okay. This time I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of the application.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? Yes. Yes.
I also vote yes. Any further discussion? Just a clarification on this landscaping. It'll be done in perpetuity, right? So if the trees die, they fall down, they get blown down, they get old and have to come down, you'll be replacing those, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there's no berm between the properties, it's just going to be left at the level that it's at, is that correct?
The development itself will be lower than the existing, or lower than the neighboring property.
Okay. All right.
So, in a way, yes.
You're not specifically putting in a berm for the trees, is my
There's
question.
a natural berm built into the
Got
landscape.
it, okay. You're not adding to that, okay. Very good. All right. All right, I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker, and based on evidence and information presented at this meeting, determine the application be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I also vote yes. As far as conditions,
Which one?
okay, well, that would be, we'll do the first one. Now we'll do the second one. Thank you for reminding me. So that was for the preliminary subdivision, for the preliminary site plan approval with final. I'll make a motion to declare the board lead agency as far as seeker, based on evidence, information presented at the meeting, determine the application to be an unlisted action with no significant environmental impact. Do I have a second on that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I also vote yes. So for the preliminary subdivision, 2 lots into 1, the conditions of approval are the approval is subject to final approval by the town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works. The town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works shall be given copies of any correspondence with other approving agencies and the applicant shall comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Any other conditions for the subdivision? All right. Then based on those conditions, the application of expert skiers only, Peter Feltner, 191 South Union Street, Spencerport, New York, 14559 owner, for a preliminary subdivision of 2 lots into 1 lot, property located at 55 and 57 King Road in an LI district. Second?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. I also vote yes. Subdivision is approved. And then for the preliminary site plan approval with the waiver of final. For conditions, I have upon completion of the project, the applicant shall submit a landscape certificate of compliance to the building department from the landscape architect certifying that all approved plantings have been furnished and installed in substantial conformance with the approved landscape plan. Approval is subject to final approval of the town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works. The town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works shall be given copies of any correspondence with other approving agencies. The applicant shall comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Copies of all other easements on this. I thought in your letter, Mike, I saw easements and a stormwater control facility maintenance agreement with the town. I did see that, okay. Copies of all easements associated with this project shall be provided to the Assistant Town Council for approval, and all filing information, i.e. library and page number, shall be noted on the Mylars. The town will require the applicant to enter into a stormwater control facility maintenance agreement with the town and provide access easement to the town. The access easements and the stormwater control facility maintenance agreement will need to be reviewed and approved by the Department of Public Works and the Planning Board Attorney, and then filed with the Monroe County Clerk's Office prior to the signing of Mylars. Building permits shall not be issued prior to the applicant complying with all conditions. Application is subject to all required permits, inspections, code compliance regulations, pending approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals for all required variances. Applicant to comply with all conditions of the Zoning Board of Appeals as applicable. Applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits for the town fire marshal. And any signage and change shall comply with the town code, including obtaining sound permits. Any other conditions?
Landscape is maintained in perpetuity.
All right.
Reread your fire marshal comment.
The applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions and permits from the town fire marshal.
Life safety permits and recommendations of the fire marshal.
Okay, so the last one will be applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions, recommendations from the fire marshal, and permits from the town fire marshal. Well, let me change it. Applicant to comply with all required life safety conditions, recommendations, and permits from the town fire marshal. Okay. With those conditions, the application of expert skiers only, Peter Feltner, 191 South Union Street, Spencerport, New York, 14559 owner, for preliminary site plan approval of a self-storage facility of 6 buildings totaling 30,600 square feet and an additional 30,000 square foot of outdoor storage yard expansion, property located at 55 and 57 King Road in an LI district. 1 minute before we proceed, though. For that water main review, that'll just be part of your engineering report, correct? We don't need to make a condition on that? That'll just be part of your approval? Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. I also vote yes, this is approved. Both
Very much.
applications are approved. Application of Smattle Holdings LLC, owner, 50 Stablegate Crossing, Webster, New York, 14580, owner, for a preliminary subdivision approval of one lot into 8 lots to be known as Black Creek Industrial Park, property located at 3513 Union Street, North Chyla, New York, 14514, in the GI District.
Hello and good evening. For the record, my name is Ed Martin, licensed engineer with DDS, here representing the application before you. My client wasn't able to attend tonight, but he did send his attorney, Mr. Sal Leacherdello, who's here in attendance. And in the event that he is better suited to answer questions you might have, I'll invite him forward. The board will long recall this project. It predates my employment with DDS. And in the last several months, we've made significant changes to this development. The planning issues remain exactly the same. 8 lots being created out of approximately 35 acres, served by a dedicated roadway, typical infrastructure, sanitary sewer, public water, and a DEC-compliant stormwater management system. What is different is that we've changed the layout to eliminate 3 variances that were previously required. So the plan before you requires no area variances. I want to give a lot of credit to your Superintendent of Public Works and your town engineer. I asked them to consider something very unique here, and a lot of staff would just not entertain that kind of idea because it was an extra lift. And to their credit, they did, and I think we're nearing the finish line on that. Now, with that said, and I don't want to jump the gun on site plan, but we're not going to ask for approval on the site plan tonight. We're just going to stick with the subdivision. But the plans before you have eliminated the area variances, significantly reduced construction cost, and, important to this board, significantly reduced the maintenance burden to the town of Chyla, specifically in the form of stormwater. We've eliminated virtually every structure that was along the roadway, and we've placed the majority of it in private hands. Question can arise at, all right, if private owners are going to maintain this, how do you ensure that happens? It's already covered with the DEC permit. The town's going to enter into a stormwater maintenance agreement. You've mentioned it a few times tonight already. And should a property owner not properly maintain their drainage, the town has the right to go and make necessary improvements and then back charge the property. So again, a lot of credit to Mr. Hanscom and Mr. Lindsay for sitting down with me and trying this unique approach. I don't know how technical the board is with reviewing these plans, but you'll note a lot of required fill has been eliminated in the plans, and this is just for the roadway. We haven't even begun plans for individual lot development, which is largely why we're not asking for site plan approval tonight. Mr. Hanscom's asked for a very detailed stormwater pollution prevention plan, otherwise known as a SWIP. We've not provided that, so rather than ask him to take our word for it, we'll just ask you not to render a decision on site plan. So with these improvements, I think you've got a much better product for everybody involved. The developable area within the lots has increased dramatically. And we were able to do that largely because the wetlands occupying the center portion of the property have been deemed non-jurisdictional by both the DEC and the Corps of Engineers. We have letters from both agencies. We've provided them with staff. I have hard copies here tonight if anybody would like copies of them. So we're asking for your approval for subdivision, and then we'll put the final touches on our SWIP and come back and ask for preliminary and final on the roadway alone. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Your ultimate stormwater design will fully build out. You're taking into account all the individual lots and what you've got labeled as impervious, allowable impervious per lot.
Correct, and what the stormwater reflects is not only what we project, but what your code allows for a maximum. So then my client gets to go to a potential buyer and say, build what you want. The reality is, we hope that a large tenant would want multiple lots here and be able to combine the two, but either way, any lot owner can maximize their development that your code allows, and our stormwater reflects that.
So Ed, so if I understand correctly, you want a table 8,
And we're just talking about the subdivision. Is that correct? Okay. So it still seems like in the new engineer's letter here that Michael Hanscom's put together, there's still some missing parts. Have you addressed those items for the subdivision?
We have draft responses. I think we got the comments yesterday, so we haven't had time to, provide those other than to say we'll gladly provide it. For example, like a SWIP. Many municipalities don't require that until you go to construction because it's technically a construction document. I won't argue that fact here, but we will obviously do a SWIP demonstrating full compliance. Our intention with our initial submission was to provide a preliminary engineer's report that reflects the calculations demonstrating adequate capacity, but we'll provide everything that he's asking.
Okay, I think that's under the site plan part, but.
Correct.
I was just worried about the.
And the other reason we're not too worried about site plan is because the county still hasn't progressed very far in creating the sewer district. Your poor superintendent of public works will call the county up and they have to be reminded of it, and then it's on the radar for a couple of days, and then if he doesn't keep shaking branches, it falls off the radar and they act like they've never heard about it next time he calls. So he's fighting an uphill battle.
I'm good right now, Mike, thanks.
Yeah. I think when you came back, New York State DOT provided feedback that a turning lane required. So we'll review that in your seeker at the next meeting when you come back.
Yep.
To mitigate that, for seeker, you would need to put in that left turning lane.
I think we should talk about that a little bit now. What the DOT said is that they'll allow the road to go in, but any individual lot development will require the improvements to Union Street. So when we ask for the site plan for the roadway, I think you're allowed to render that decision without improvements to Union Street. But before you approve a site plan for any individual lot development, those improvements will have to be made.
Thank you.
So Ed, let me get this right. You got this 8 lots here, no variances, no area variances required?
None whatsoever.
It's John. But I have nothing.
Anything on the side table? Nothing? This time I'll open the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the audience? Attorney want to ask any questions? I'll make a motion. Make a motion to close the public hearing portion of the application. Second?
Yes.
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 Yes. Also vote yes. Any further discussion just on the subdivision, number 7? There were a few things that will be conditioned that the town highway superintendent has requested relative to the dedication of the roadways prior to any further approvals, so that'll all be in the conditioning.
Yep.
Anything else? No further discussion. The conditions. Approval is subject to final approval of the town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works. The town engineer and the Commissioner of Public Works shall be given copies of any correspondence with other approving agencies. Applicant shall comply with all pertinent Monroe County Development Review Committee comments. Copies of all easements associated with this project shall be provided to the Assistant Town Council for approval, and all filing information, library and page numbers shall be noted on the Mylars. I do have a question. I have a couple conditions in here, then you can comment on it. If the existing septic system at 3535 Union Street is no longer in use, the old leach field shall be removed. And if the existing easement for a septic area at 3535 Union Street is no longer required, it shall be removed. An approval of the subdivision is conditioned upon the site plan approval, and the property owner shall dedicate the roadway to the town of Chi-Lai. With those conditions, the application of Smadle Holdings LLC owner, I'm sorry, Paul, any other conditions?
Did you say easements to be removed?
Yes.
Who are those easements to?
They're to the applicant for 3535 Union Street. Apparently, there's an easement for an existing septic system in the right-of-way of the highway that's going to,
There's an easement to the tool and die shop to the south. Their old leach field, which I'm not even sure they even use anymore, I think they're already connected to the sewer. And if they're not, it's very easy to connect them to the sewer as part of our project.
and I think that was the comment from the town engineer and our superintendent, is that if they're no longer in use, they need to be removed. The leach fields need to be removed,
Happy to comply.
and you need to remove the existing easement.
Yep.
And if they are still there, it's in your highway right-of-way, you wouldn't be able to build a road, so you need to figure out what you're going to do.
Sure.
Relative to that.
Just to remove an easement would require an agreement between both parties. So they unilaterally can't remove the easement. They would have to have an agreement with the grantee of the easement to remove it. I just want to make sure you're aware. So that may be, if they don't agree to do it, it may be a condition that can't be accomplished.
And I think the way I read the letter, it was something that had to be done if they wanted to move forward, right?
That's fine. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that it's potentially something that can't be
I'm
accomplished.
confident we can get it, yeah. But I understand the concern, yeah.
Okay. We good? All right. With those conditions, the application of Smeadow Holding LLC owner, 50 Stablegate Crossing, Webster, New York, 14580, owner for a preliminary subdivision approval of one lot into 8 lots to be known as Black Creek Industrial Park, property located at 3513 Union Street, North Charlie, New York, 14514, in a GI district.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I also vote yes, this is approved. And then you're requesting to table application of the preliminary site plan approval, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the request to table the preliminary site plan approval.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I also vote yes. That'll be till the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Notify Catherine that you'll be in next month so she can get it on the.
Will do. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll make a motion to, there was no meeting last month, was there? And we already approved March, right? We didn't, because we weren't here in April. So then we didn't do March, right? Okay. So then I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the March meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
Why not?
I also vote yes. It's approved 6-0. Any other business? Meeting is adjourned.